Hey everybody, I'm Oakley at Oakley Does Everything, and today we're going to be making Jaune's shield from the show Ruby. Stay tuned. Alright, our blueprint is done and printed off, and so now we need some material to work with. And I have this, which is kind of like a white erase board material, but not exactly what it is. According to the label, it's called Yucca tile. This is something I picked up at Home Depot. It was a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of this. I got it for $11. I just had them cut it in thirds, and that is perfect for the dimensions that we're going to be working with. So now that we have our material and our blueprint, we're going to go ahead and tape our blueprint together and lay it out, just kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. And here we have our blueprint all taped together, and I am super excited about that because it looks pretty sweet. This is going to be able to go across my arm very easily and give me the height that I will need for it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blueprint away, set it aside, and I'm going to put some blue painter's tape onto my material, and then we're going to transfer this onto the material. Hey everybody, just jumping in real fast. I know that a lot of you watch my videos without subscribing, and if you are one of those people, I would appreciate it if you just hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me and a lot to the channel. All right, back to the build. Before we go ahead and cut this out, I'm actually going to put another layer of my board underneath of my template or my blueprint. And the reason that is it might just be a little bit simpler if I cut two of them out at the same time, because one of them is just going to be the accent pieces and the other one's going to be the shield itself. I decided I wanted the embellishments to be multi-dimensional, so it'll stick out a little bit, just have a little bit more depth to it. So I'm going to find a way to secure these two pieces together and then cut out the outside of the shield, and then I'll take the top one off and then cut out the inside. Alright, so what I've decided to do is I'm going to take these 2x4s and I'm going to put them underneath and then drill some 1¼ inch screws into them from the top. So what you saw me did, in addition to putting the blocks underneath of it to screw the pieces together, is I also added some spacers underneath of each of those 2x4s. What I'm hoping to accomplish with that is that when I go to use my jigsaw, that this will be high enough off the bench that when it goes to cut, it won't go all the way through and hit the bench itself. So that's where I'm at right now. I think we are good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and now cut out the outside perimeter of this, and once I get done cutting that out, I'll take the two pieces apart and then continue to cut on the inside line of my blueprint. So I have the main body of my shield cut out, as well as the accent pieces. Here I have the main perimeter, as well as Jaune emblem that's going to be going up here. And I actually kept the inner piece of this, that way I can use it for making sure that I put these in the correct place when I go to install. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take my accent piece, I'm going to take it to my oscillating sander, and I'm going to clean up some of these tighter areas that I wasn't able to get to with the jigsaw, and just kind of clean these up. My sander's out in the garage, so I'm going to do this off camera, but I'm just cleaning this up. I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. Right, and so I went and I cleaned up my accent piece, and I actually found that my Dremel worked a lot better. I have a smaller sanding disc on it, and it can get into some of these tighter areas, especially down in, I'm going to call this the antler area, or I guess this would be Kira's tiara, crown thing. Now what I'm going to do is, I don't need my blueprint on here anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it as best as I can. I do need to be careful because there are some spots where I got a little bit of tear out from the top white material, and so some of these corner pieces, or these pieces that come to a fine point, they have chipped off, so I need to be careful when pulling the tape off that. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape. As you can see with this close-up video, there is a lot of tear out on the sides of my accent piece, and that actually came from the tape. I think a combination between using my jigsaw and the tape, it kind of pulled out a lot of those edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 220 grit and just kind of round those over a little bit and get it ready for primer and paint. Alright, so I have my accent pieces. I think I'm going to go ahead and paint them now. In the show, the outside accent piece of the shield is this kind of a brighter yellow than what Jaune's yellow gold color is. So the two half moons are going to be painted that same gold that I did to accent both the armor and a lot of the sword with, and the outside perimeter of the shield is going to be a slightly different yellow color. I have that off to the side, so let's go ahead and move out to the garage, and we're going to do some primer over everything, and then we're going to go ahead and lay some paint on it. While our paint is setting up and drying, we're going to move on to the main body of the shield, and specifically working on how to get our arm hold in here so that we can actually walk around and carry it like a real shield. I'm going to use the same round wood dowel that I have with my sword handle, and I'm going to put that in here with some standoffs, some wood blocks that are going to be sitting up off of that. Grab it right there, and then I think I'm also going to, for the forearm part that secures it to the arm, I think I'm going to use a piece of leather with some Velcro on it, and then that way I can secure it that way. I may change my mind when we get going, but for right now, that's kind of the idea. So I went and I got my handle for holding the shield with my hand, and then I made a leather strip that I'm going to use as the strip to hold the forearm against the shield. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the show and familiar with the character Jaune, his shield is also the sheath for his sword, so his sword fits down into it like this. And in the show, the hilt goes perfectly in this little notch that is in the shield. And so we're going to go ahead and do some work for what the sheath is going to be. And I think what I'm going to do is, just to give myself a little bit of flexibility with the sheath, I'm going to use some of my thinner foam material that I have and just kind of lay down a strip of contact cement down this. I probably won't go all the way down to the bottom and leave it uncovered just a little bit, but I think foam is going to be what I want to go with. It'll be tight enough that it'll be secure, but a loose enough material that'll have a little bit of give when it's going in. So let's go ahead and cut up a strip of foam for our sheath. Alright, so our paint has dried on our accent pieces, and we need to go ahead and find a way to secure our accent pieces to the main body of our shield. And I tell you what, this looks pretty sweet already, just having it laid out as it is. And I did a few experimental pieces because I don't have much experience with this material that I use for this, and I wasn't entirely sure what would work because the wider part is a little bit smoother. It does have a little bit of texture on it, but not a ton. So I just did a few pieces to test, and this piece is contact cement. It actually holds pretty well. Like, that's me trying to pull it apart. I also tried an epoxy piece, and I don't know if I didn't use enough hardener in it or what, but the epoxy just didn't work at all. So I would not recommend using epoxy for this specifically. So I am going to go with contact cement, but the thing I do need to be careful about is with this much area, I need to make sure that it lines up really well from the get-go, because if I start laying it down and it's not perfectly lined up where I need it to be, it could make it difficult because I'd have to pull it apart and then try and reset it again. So that is going to be the difficult part of it. I might just start with a corner piece like down here, and then do another strip right here in the middle, and then somewhere at the top. I don't think I'm going to do contact cement underneath the entirety of this, just enough to get me started, and then a few secure points around the whole thing. And then we have Jaune's symbol itself. Once we get this in, I actually have the piece I used to cut the center part out. I'm going to lay that back in here and then put these back in here. That way we have the exact right spot for it. And I think on these I will add contact cement around the entirety of it. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up, trace a small line with a pencil, and then go ahead and start adding some contact cement. Alright everybody, that is going to be it for this week's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you want to see more content about my Jaune cosplay, I have a playlist right here for you. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't yet done so, please hit that subscribe button. That's right here in the middle. Other than that, have a great day. Bye.